Hello friends, welcome back to Honey Apple Farm. After a 6-week break in Portland, I have come back to Tulsa and I've been waiting for the sun to come out because it's been gray. Pretty much, except for Friday. Friday was glorious, but it's been gray for almost a week since I got back. So look, the sun is out. So let's take a look at the garden. It's crazy, y'all. I was gone for 5.5 weeks, and while I was in Portland, it rained, it was foggy, it snowed, it iced. But all of that is winter stuff, and spring, early spring, has come to Tulsa in my absence. So let me give you a quick tour of what's going on in the garden. I have an update on the garlic beds, and then I will show you a little bit of what early spring looks like in Tulsa. I mean, first things first, we have green grass, which is really cool because when I left, the grass was all dead because it had been really cold. Now, not everywhere has green grass. There's some grass that's still brown, but like, look at this. It's green. All right, so things are happening in the herb bed. Our oregano is coming back and our sage is coming back. And I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to see it, but there are a little bit of green leaves on the thyme as well. The only one that looks completely dead still is the rosemary. And as Peter reminded me, it did look like this last year too. So I don't know. It's supposed to be hardy. So fingers crossed that the rosemary will come back. And then look, all of the things in the pots, which I've just left out here and have not tended in any way, are doing great. So this is the lemon balm, which is coming back, and the regular mint, which is coming back, and then the peppermint, which was completely dead when I left. Look, there's new peppermint. Isn't that exciting? And then check this out. This is one of the catnips. Isn't it glorious? It's so green and bushy and beautiful, and if we didn't already have a butt ton of it inside, I might be harvesting that, but I'm not. So that is the most prolific of the catnips, but this is another one of the catnips. And again, catnip is an annual. It's not supposed to come back year after year, but these haven't died from last year, so they're just going to keep going, which is awesome. Here's catnip number 3. And then this one isn't doing so great. You can see that there's a tiny little bit here and a tiny little bit there, and like a tiny little bit here. So I'm not quite sure what happened with this one, but you know what? We have a lot of catnip, so that's fine. Look how luxurious this is, you guys. It is the beginning of March. It shouldn't look like this. While I was gone, they had some days that were up in the 70s, and one day that it was almost 80. And what's crazy to me is that they've come through at some point recently and mowed, because look, you can see the stuff here on the ground. So it was tall enough to actually have the lawn care people come out. Now, for what we've all been waiting for, the garlic beds. Aren't they beautiful? Look at how lush and green they are. Now, the middle row of this bed has not done well. There's exactly 2 bulbs that came out in there, and I don't know, maybe I buried them too deeply, but look at how lush these babies are. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so excited. It's garlic. And then these 2 beds, the ones I put the covers on, look at this. They're growing up to the covers. The covers stayed on despite winds. We had tornadoes come through here, not through Tulsa, but through Oklahoma a couple weeks back. And these frames are just as fine can be. And look, they're growing up through the chicken wire. And then, yeah, that thing look great. And the germination in this bed is fantastic. Look at that. We're going to have so much garlic, it's going to be amazing. Here, this one only had the 1 row. Not quite as prolific. We can see there should have been one here that didn't come up. There's a couple on the other end that didn't come up. But yeah, these row covers worked extraordinarily well. I have a suspicion that the garlic should not look this exuberant for early March. But again, we had several days when it was really nice and warm. And even though today's not supposed to be terribly warm, it is going to be in the 50s. Well, in the 40s, upper 40s today. And we do have several days of nice weather coming as well. So, yeah, green things everywhere. And then the last thing I want to show you guys are blackberry bushes are leafing out as well. Aren't they beautiful? Look at that. Look at how green they are. They're glorious. You can see the stumps of last year's, which are very pokey and totally dead. And then all the new ones coming out. However, I think this one here in the middle is dead. I'm going to give it a little bit more time, but you can see it got knocked over last fall, and I was hoping it might come back, and I don't think it's going to. It was pretty chilly this morning on my walk. It was just above freezing. It definitely feels like spring is here, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. So I want to show you some of the pictures I've taken in the last week since I got home. The trees are in leaf, the daffodils are up, the redbuds are starting to bud out. It is just a glorious, glorious time to be alive. I love spring. It's my second favorite season. And I just, after a long winter and a long period of rain and grainy weather in Portland, this feels incredible. Just to show you how crazy this is one of our 2 redbud trees that's right along the trail that I walk on every morning. And these are usually the very first things to crack long before anything else has. And you can see, full focus, I mean, they are cracking, but from a distance, it's still really hard to see color on them. And this is usually the thing that goes weeks before everything else. Usually when everything else is still dead, you can come up to these and they're this beautiful redbud color. Anyway, these 2 redbuds are usually the harbinger of spring for me. And as you can tell, as they walk away, from a distance, they still look pretty dead. You'd have to squint to see the buds on them. There are other redbuds along this path, but these are the 2 that are closest to home, which is just down there. And so these are the 2 that I traditionally think of as being the first signs of spring. I'm glad I didn't miss them. I was thinking as I was walking up here, if these are already in full bud, because they only stay this way for about, once they're fully open, they only stay that way for about 3 weeks or so, and then they fade as everything else comes in. So I'm glad I didn't miss them, even though I'm a little intrigued by the fact that they're not as open as some of the other trees. Hello, Canada geese friends. Here we go. Here's an entire hillside covered in that purple henbit. Isn't it glorious? And this may be silly. This may just be my own personal preferences, but it reminds me of the heather that you would see in Scotland. Now, it's not at all related. This is Nettle, and it's the wrong time of year for heather to be in bloom. Nevertheless, that's what it makes me think of. Aren't these glorious? I'm along the river trail, going up towards the civilized part, towards the gardens, and look, I don't know what these are, but they are beautiful. Everything else is still, gray and brown and green, but these are gloriously, beautifully red.